Looking to improve your squad on Ultimate Team? Visit IGGM.com for safe and reliable coins with the link in the description. Use my promo code NA to get 5% off. What's up, guys? Today we're going to be going over the 451, and this 451 is the closest replica to the 4321 so far. It's not going to be the exact same, but it's going to play really similar. So if you played a lot of the 4321 last year, you're going to realize that this is going to operate really similarly. You still have that structure of the three up front with the attacking midfielder in the middle and the three up front acting like all the strikers practically. It's not going to play the exact same. You're going to notice that it feels a little different. And to be honest, it's not as OP as last year, but it's going to be still effective if, you're too used to the 4-3-2-1 from last year. So if you want to bring over that muscle memory, then you'll have no issues doing that now. And to be honest, guys, I don't want to hear anything about, oh my god, you're bringing back stupid meta tactics. For the most part, the most meta tactic, the most readiest tactic in the game so far is the 5-4-1. So if you have complaints about the 4-3-2-1, just hold them, please, because this 4-3-2-1 is not ratty at all, to be honest. It's pretty normal. It's not glitched. It's not overpowered. It's still really good, obviously, but it's very far from being a rat formation, especially when you have people rocking the 5-4-1. So with that being said, you can see the tactic right here. The code thing is glitched. I don't know why it does that, but the code I'll have in the description below, or sorry, in the comments below. And as you can see, you have build-up style counter, and the reason why we're doing that is because counter is really close to direct passing from last year. And since you have a left mid and a right mid, which operate pretty deep, going to want them to make runs really quickly as soon as you get the ball, so it's really important that you have them on counter. The issue with having them on balance, for example, when you have a formation that uses a left mid and a right mid, is the fact that once you get the ball, they're really close to your left back and right back, and they're just going to be too slow in the transition. And counterattacks are really useful to score from in this game. And in order to really get those really good runs with a left mid and a right mid, you're going to need counter with basically any formation that uses a left mid and a right mid, simply so you can just get those runs forward, because without them, they're just going to be too slow in transition. It's going to take you too long to build up. You're not going to score like 5-6 goals a game if you're using balanced in a formation with left mid, right mid. That combination is just not going to work. Defensive approach, 70. I used to recommend 89, but at this stage of the game, I'm starting to get too lazy to hardcore defend. 70 is the perfect line in between for aggressive defense and, safe defense, if that makes sense. If you're playing someone that's spamming through balls, it will be important that, well, if they're spamming through balls and actually being effective with them, they're scoring from through balls, I would recommend you change the line height down to 50 during the game, because that will basically allow the center backs to actually follow the striker that whenever they make the run. So if that's an issue during the game, switch down to 50, but for the most part, you can start at 70. I've actually never had to switch from 70, but I've noticed that if I did need to, due to the other strikers making a ton of runs in behind, then 50 would do. But yeah, 70 normally. And then the player roles, you can see up front, advanced forward attack. Advanced forward attack is really useful if you're trying to build into the box. Personally, I do not like Poacher, primarily because Poacher is only effective on a counterattack, while advanced forward is more versatile. It works in the counterattack for through balls, and it's also really useful in build up, trying to attack the box, because with advanced forward, you're going to shift a little bit horizontally whenever needed. If there's you're able to drag a center back out of position and then there's a hole in the defense, advanced forward is going to be right there to take advantage of that and be open for the pass. And then your left mid right here, inside forward attack, as well as your right mid, inside forward attack. In build up, they're going to be wide, but once you get closer to the box, they're going to tuck in closer and closer to the striker. So right when you're at the edge of the box, they're going to sandwich themselves in between the other team's center back and fullback. So first things first, it's really important that you have a player that, for example, on the right side, you need a player that's right-footed, and then on the left side, you need a player that's left-footed, or 4-star weak foot, whatever works. And the reason why I say that is because you're probably going to be shooting a lot of near post, far post inside the box, and the best angle to shoot that from, especially if you're using a Travella, is if you're having the foot that corresponds with the side of the pitch that they're on. You have a box-to-box midfielder on one side and then a playmaker on the other side. The playmaker is going to act as the box crasher, if that makes sense. They're going to make a lot of runs into the box, but they're also going to be making a lot of runs into positions where they can set up a player in the box. So this is really important right here for feeding the wingers and the striker, as well as occupying space that the wingers and striker can take advantage of. And the box-to-box does basically the same thing. However, for the sake of balance, we need this player to help cover for defense as well. So this player is basically the same thing as a playmaker, but they just do it less frequently, if that makes sense. And then the holding, it's really important that we look at the activity map right here, because you can use something like deep line playmaker right here, but the only reason why we don't need to is because this player can still feed the attack and build up. Generally speaking, having a center mid on holding is still going to act pretty helpful in build up, while in case you lose the ball, they're not going to be vulnerable to defense counterattacks. So having three midfielders that are going to be contributive in attack is going to be really useful. you're going to have a wingback on the right side. And the reason why we have a wingback on the right side is because sometimes there's just that annoying thing where someone's just defending with a 5 at the back, or they're just defending really hardcore. And one of the small ways that you can break it down is having a player occupy the wide channels. Now, this wingback isn't going to be too attacking. That's why we obviously don't have him on attacking wingback, because we only want this player to attack when we actually need. But this player is basically going to be available in build-up, so that way when you have the ball at this player's feet, you can trigger an L1 run, a pass and go. And that's important because if you can have this player bomb down the wing whenever you need it, you can stretch out the other team's defense. So if they're playing a 5 at the back, you're going to be able to open up space in the middle when this player exists. And then when you don't need this player attacking, he's not going to be out of position. He's still going to be close to the defensive line, so there's not any significant risk to having a wing back here. He's just there for whenever you need him and you're just running out of options through the middle because someone's just defending really hardcore. Your two center backs, obviously it says defender, but it's really important that you have him on balance as well because it allows him to step up a little bit more than regular defend. And if you're playing a high line, it's really useful because with balance, it allows you to recover the ball as quickly as possible from the counterattack or when you're preventing a counterattack. And one of the ways to score a lot with this formation is as soon as you can see the ball, you'll have plenty of opportunities to win it back as soon as possible. That way, you can score as soon as possible. And then your left back is going to be on fullback bounce because you're just a regular fullback on defensive duties. You don't really need this player to do anything crazy. And then your keeper is going to be on sweeper keeper. The only reason that this formation doesn't act exactly the same as, the previous 4-3-2-1 is the fact that in the previous 4-3-2-1, you always had a midfielder that acted almost as like a half wing. And they would occupy the wide channels, and that way you would almost always have like a line of 5 in the attack, which always overwhelmed the opposition. And when I say 5 in the attack, I'm talking about, you'd have like an attacking wingback, you would have that half winger that'd be one of the midfielders, and you'd have the 3 players up front. And it was dynamic as well. There was a lot of overlaps, there was a lot of runs in behind. We don't have that exact same thing anymore because you might be wondering, why don't we use the half winger role? And that's because the half winger role for the center mids in this game completely sucks. It doesn't have the same AI as, the equivalent for FIFA 24. It's shallow. All it does is sit out wide, and that's really it. It's really boring. Hopefully they fix it or update it next year or even as soon as possible this year, but it's EA, so I can't really expect much. But this is still a really solid formation. And one of the reasons why I was able to have a lot of success with it was the fact that I had a lot of muscle memory from my 4-3-2-1 last year. So it was basically able to transfer for the most part. I had to get used to it a little bit, had to change my habits a tiny bit, but as soon as possible I was scoring. So this is also a really defensively stable formation, which is also what makes it really OP this year, because the left mid and the right mid defend like crazy well. And what I mean by that is the difference between this and the left winger and the right winger is the fact that the left mid and right mid actually help the center mids in defense. So they're going to be right next to the center mids, the 3 center mids might I add. So they're going to be defending in a 4-5 structure, which that's going to be a pain in the ass to try and break down. Just not as bad as a 5-4-1, which is way worse to be honest. But yeah guys, for today that's all. Check the comments below for the tactics code. Also be sure to join our Discord and or follow me on Twitch. But yeah.